Hello, welcome to Paul's Take, and today I'm going to tell you my take on acceleration, on the stats. Are stats overrated? Are they really that important? When is good good enough? That's what I'm saying. So here's the deal. You want a sporty car. I got a sporty car, sporty-ish. Not super sporty, but sporty enough to be fun. You're looking for a sporty car. Maybe you're like an average Joe. This is probably for average Joes, not you six-figure income people or seven-figure. So your average Joe, you want a fun car to drive, and you see all these comparisons, and everybody makes a big deal on how fast it goes. To me, top speed was never that important because you're never really going to go full out 150 miles an hour, 180 miles an hour on the highway. You'll just lose your license. That's not a good idea. But a good acceleration car is cool. You want to do 0 to 60 fast, right? The faster the better. But when is it enough? So here's my thing. If you can go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, that car is going to feel really fast. That's enough power to throw in the back of the seat, feel some acceleration, scare your passenger. And usually, this car here that I have, this is a Scion TC 2014. It only does 0 to 60 in like 7 seconds. And even though I did time it much, or I'll say pretty good faster than that, maybe 6.5. I do have like one of those fancy air intakes. But anyways, I think even got to 6.3. But it could be faster, yeah. But I have different cars that do 0 to 60 in 5. And that always feels fast to me. It definitely has enough power to throw you in the back of your seat and you hold on for dear life. Anything faster than that is great if you're going to be racing. Now me, I might pull next to somebody and when the light turns green and just take off and see who's faster, but I'm not going to go really much faster than the speed limit because I don't want to lose my license. I do that for fun. And usually whoever has the best jump usually wins. And most people will not even engage you anyways. So if you're not going to the drag strip, if you're not normally racing somebody, if you want like you have a fun car, you want to take off the traction control and do some burnouts, a car to 0 to 60 in 5 seconds is plenty of fast. There's more important things than 0 to 60 time. Past 5. I would think the goal would be to get something that could do 0 to 60 in 5 seconds because that's going to be fun. The more important thing though is for your enjoyment, pleasure, for the fun of a car, is for one how it handles. To me, how it handles is more, well, not more important, but is equally as important as the 0 to 60 time. So you want something to do like 5 seconds. It could be 5.1, 5.2. It's fine, whatever. It's close enough. If it handles good, if it's light, that's important. If it doesn't have that much sway when you're hitting the wheel, you turn around a corner, that's also important. Rear-wheel drive. You're going to have a lot more fun with a car with rear-wheel drive than you are with a car that's front-wheel drive or even all-wheel drive. All-wheel drives are great for traction. And if you're like, if you do a lot of, if you're traveling in the snow or ice or whatever. But for purely fun driving, the rear-wheel drive is the way to go. Because then you can fishtail around corners or drift. That's going to increase your enjoyment. The comfort of the car. Like I personally like a lighter car. That's all of this is really subjective. Some people like, I don't know, a bigger, buffer, heavier car. Well, I like a light car that's quick. You do around corners real fast. You do fishtailing or drifting and stuff like that. And rear-wheel drive, that's also a big plus. This car here is actually front-wheel drive, but you gotta live with your budget too, and your practicality. So in my case, this is my only vehicle. Of course, my wife has a vehicle, so it has to be semi-practical. I would have loved that Toyota TR. Oh, I forgot what it is. It's pretty much the same as this, but it's rear-wheel drive. But there's no back seat in it. I mean, there is. I mean, technically, there's a back seat, but it's really small, and there's really no trunk space. This one has believe it or not, has a lot of space in the back seat where people could comfortably sit back there, and the trunk is huge. So it's a hatchback. So like this in a GTI, they're front wheel drive, but they're very practical cars. They're a lot of fun. So style, style again is subjective. So if one car is pulling on your heartstrings because you love the way it looks, that would be, I mean, you got to take all that in consideration. That's important too, because you want a car that when you walk away, you turn around and get another look at it, to get a glance, like, wow, that's a nice looking car. That's my car. So that's subjective. You can't say which one car you're gonna like versus me. You're gonna like a different car than I will. Personally, I don't know, I like a lot of cars. I'm a car junkie. That's why I have this channel. So to pick a sports car based on looks alone it would take me a week of solid flipping through 1,000 catalogs and going through parking lots. But also the interior of a car. You get into a car and sometimes they just call you, speak to you. The seats you sit in there. To also, I used to I'm a big stat guy as well, but I'll go through magazines and look at the pictures, see how it looks. Look at the stats and see, it sounds good, it sounds fast, it looks good. But then you get in the car, you drive it, and it's just it's the feel of it. It just didn't feel like you expected it to feel. So that's also very important. And this is really, you can't really explain that part of it. But when you see a car, and you haven't driven it, you still gotta drive it. Don't go in there and okay, that car meets all the marks. I'm gonna try to get one without driving it, because you might not like it. It happened to me many times with the Mazda Speed 3. I loved the way that car looked. The stats were great. I drove it, didn't like the way it felt. And they had good reviews too. That's another thing. Don't listen to the reviews. Except for mine, of course. That's totally different. But you see the Consumer Reports or all these different places. It's one thing about the reliability of a car. Yeah, you might want to consider that. But don't listen to them in regards to the way a car drives. Because I used to work at a dealership. I used to work at a Kia dealership 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 13, I don't know. It was a while ago. And they would always say how bad the Kias drove. And I swore up and down. I loved the way they drove. They had a real nice feel to them. It was hard to explain, but it might not have beat it in any of the categories, like if you're going on a slalom or 0 to 60. But comfort-wise, just the way it drove nice. I just liked the way it felt. And then I jump into a Toyota, somebody come in with a newer Toyota. You get those used cars that come in, and they would be pretty much new, 30,000 miles on it. And it can be the class-leading car, and I'd be excited to drive it and be like, how is this getting a better rating? I understand reliability, but as a comfort, the feel of it, I would prefer a Kia. Or it could be a different car, too. There's different cars that some are supposed to be great, and you drive it and you're like, ugh. And then some are supposed to be bad, and you drive it and you're like, whoa, cool. I'll give you another example. Of course, this is SUVs, though, but I was shopping for an SUV at one point, and I was trying to get a nice, good, reliable car. So I went and drove the Honda CR-V. Great ratings, top pick, all this stuff. I couldn't stand it. I thought it was like a minivan. It just drove boring. And then the worst pick was the Jeep Compasses and the Jeep Patriots. And I really that spoke to me so much more. I got in the car. I liked the way the interior looked. I drove the car. It drove better, had a heavier, beefier feel to it. I liked it. So some people might like that real light, bouncy feel to it, and some people won't. I didn't like it at all. So don't judge a car based on the reviews, especially of the driving part of it. Like I said, if you want to know which one's fastest, then yeah, you check that out. If you want to know the most reliable, yeah, check it out. But when they say when the guy's like, oh, it just felt terrible, don't listen to him. Go yourself. If you like a car and you get the worst ratings, well, not in regards to reliability, but a feel, go out there and drive it, because you might like it. It might speak to you. That happens to me a lot. I have cheap taste. I don't know what it is, but I like the way this car didn't even have a really great behind the wheel review. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great, and I really like it. Is it better than a Porsche 911? Heck no, but it's nice. They said that it was vague feeling when you're steering. I feel like I jumped in there and felt very comfortable with it. And maybe some you could feel more, but I feel great. It feels very predictable, and I got enough feel. I guess probably, especially after you've driven it for a while. But even when I jumped in, I remember I was driving like a hooligan the first day. I felt fine. So keep that in mind. Just a little something. Stats are not always that important unless you're like a racer. If you're literally going to the track racing, if you're literally going to a drag strip, and you're going to race your car, then yeah, stats are important. What you could do to add on to the performance that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, that would be important as well. Because if you can get one car and it has a ton of bolt-on stuff to make it faster, that might be more appealing than the one that's off the shelf faster. It's hard to modify. So keep all that in mind. But for the average Joe, I'm like I like to maybe goof around on the street a little bit, but I've never been to a track like a what do you call it, like a road course track or a drag track. Never, neither. So, but I know I like to have fun and I like to get off that line and so 5 seconds. It's fast. It's enough. If your car can do 5 seconds, 0 to 60, that's a blast. You're gonna have a lot of fun with that, especially if it's a car like the new Mustang with the Eco Boost, 4-cylinder, 2.3 liter turbo. I think the 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. So that's a lighter Mustang, and probably better gas mileage, probably really reliable, probably a blast to drive. I'm dying to drive that one. I'm actually more looking forward to driving that one than I am with the V8 because it's just I like a light car. So anyhow, that's my take on stats. Don't get all wrapped up in those stats unless, of course, you're a serious racer. Otherwise, go in there, jump in the car, see if it speaks to you. That's more important. Don't let somebody else tell you which car looks better or is better. Unless you're talking about reliability. That's kind of important. But even then, whatever. So you decide. If you think a car looks good, you decide if you think a car feels good. Don't let me tell you you're not going to like the way it feels. Drive it yourself. Jump in there. And make sure you don't get all overly excited about a car based on the looks. And then when you jump in the car, make sure you still like the way it feels. Because I know that happens as well. You get too wrapped up in, I got to have that car. You've never driven it before. And you get in there and you're like, I can't see out the window because it's so low. Or it's it could be anything. Your seats are not comfortable. So you'll know. When you get in the right car, you drive it, you get in it, you love it, you'll know. And that's the one you should get. Thanks for watching. Paul's Take. That's my take on stuff.